It is the 28th of March, 2021. Welcome to the Christian History Almanac, brought to you by 1517 at 1517.org. I'm Dan Van Voris. The year was 1987. In 1987, I was 8 years old. I am fairly certain that The Sound of Music was on television, and I am very certain that I never watched it. And for the next 32 or so years, I never watched it, despite being familiar with some of the soundtrack. And here's part of the problem. Someone should have told me that the movie was essentially Mary Poppins with Nazis. Because, well, the movie is literally Mary Poppins with Nazis. But I digress. Julie Andrews and fascist regimes aren't usually topics on this program. However, perhaps the story of a postulant wrestling with vocation, that is, a would-be nun wrestling with God's will, would be an appropriate story for this podcast. And what if that story was turned into a book, a play, a musical, and a movie musical? Well, today that's what we're doing, as we remember the life of the real Maria von Trapp, née Kutscher, who died on this, the 28th of March in 1987, at the age of 82. The story of the real Maria is filled with more tragedy than the film, and her theological convictions are much more pronounced in her writing. The basis for the play and musical are loosely based on her own memoirs, especially the story of the Trapp family singers. Maria Kutscher was born in 1905 in Vienna, Austria. Her mother died by the time she was 2, and her father sent her to live with an uncle. However, this uncle was mentally unstable and abusive, and this led to her leaving home as soon as she graduated high school. Her intention was to become a teacher, and she enrolled in a teacher's college. However, she tells the story of walking in Vienna one Sunday and being drawn to the music coming from a church. Her father was a staunch atheist, and Maria considered herself somewhat in that camp as well. But the music was enticing. So she wandered into a church on what happened to be Palm Sunday, which coincidentally is also today. Her conversion was swift. She was baptized, and within 2 years was a postulant at the Benedictine Abbey at Nürnberg. A considerable difference between the film version and the version as told by von Trapp is in how Maria's intensely personal faith shaped the story we know so well. You can find a film versus real-life breakdown on the web, but let's consider a few important beats. Maria and Georg did not fall in love as some kind of odd couple. The real Georg von Trapp was a much older, retired submarine commander whose wife had recently died from scarlet fever. One of his daughters, also named Maria, came down with the same illness, and the widowed von Trapp went to the local abbey looking for assistance. Maria Kutscher had indeed been a wild spirit in the abbey, and a doctor suggested that she never properly acclimated to a life in the abbey, coming from a life in the hills. And so she was encouraged to take a position teaching the young von Trapp. But this involved a crisis of calling. Maria believed that God wanted her in the abbey. Later, and in that same vein, Maria was unsure if she should marry the Baron. He was considerably older, and the two were not romantically interested. And marriage would forever close the door to what she believed to be the optimal way to love and serve God in the abbey. The movie musical dances around the theological implications, but essentially gets to the heart of the matter. For the real Maria, her story is about how one serves and loves God wherever they find themselves, by loving and serving those people God has put in your life. Maria's story outside of the confines of the film is fascinating and theologically rich. There are stories from meeting Hitler and refusing to sing at his birthday to having Heinrich Himmler make their old house his new Nazi headquarters. The family was also devastated by the Great Depression and ended up in America with no money and no English. The daughter that Maria initially came to teach, the other Maria, would herself become a missionary and serve in Papua New Guinea. Religion in popular media is regularly watered down to a form of inoffensive civic religion. And watching the popular musical about Maria von Trapp, you might assume that her faith was more incidental to the more important love story with a dreamy Christopher Plummer. But you might figure someone who wanted to become a nun, well, her faith was pretty central to her life. Maria would be named a Dame of the Order of the Holy Sepulchre and was given the Benemerenti Medal by Pope Pius XII. Maria von Trapp nie Kuchera died on this, the 28th of March in 1987. Born in 1905, she was 82 years old. The reading for today, Palm Sunday, is from G.K. Chesterton. This is his The Donkey. When fishes flew and forests walked, and figs grew upon thorn, some moment when the moon was blood, then surely I was born. With monstrous head and sickening cry, and ears like errant wings, the devil's walking parody of all four-footed things. The tattered outlaw of the earth, of ancient crooked will. Starve me, scourge me, deride me. I am dumb, I keep my secret still. Fools, for I also had my hour, one far fierce hour and sweet. There was a shout about my ears, and palms before my feet. That was The Donkey from G.K. Chesterton. This has been the Christian History Almanac for the 28th of March 2021, brought to you by 1517 at 1517.org. This show is produced by Christopher. The Hills Are Alive with the Sound of Gillespie. The show is written and read by Dan Van Voris, who is still upset that Rolf ditched Liesel like that. You can catch us here every day. And remember that the rumors of grace, forgiveness, and the redemption of all things are true. Everything is going to be okay.